There you go.
Hello and welcome. This is our third live in a series of undefined amount of lives. Laura and I have committed to doing this every week. So my question for you today is, what if you were able to do what you love all the time at home, in your work, with your business, all the time? You only were doing what you love. Imagine how fantastic that would be. Well, that's partly what we're going to explore today. So, as a quick recap, the first live that we did was just in general, how can you be more effective and efficient working from home? Then our second one, we dug into, hey, this is our new normal right now. We're going to be here for a while. How can we embrace it? And we looked at ways to look at really maximizing what's going on right now and how can that change things for your life and your business for the better. Today, we're going to talk about how can you stay more in your zone of genius, do the things that you love to do and that you're really good at. So yes, today we're going to talk about delegating. I'm Crilley Mallis, and I have worked with business owners who really are fantastic and they love what they do and they're great at what they do, and they also realize that they run out of time each and every day. So my goal is to help them figure out how to manage the day-to-day so that they are able to do what they can do and create strategic action. And I'm joined today with Laura Licursi.
And I am Laura Licursi. I am the founder of Elite Virtual Assistants, and we are a virtual staffing agency. And we help attorneys, small business owners, and busy professionals go from being busy to productive by helping them delegate their tasks. I also help virtual assistants in this space too. I like to see them thrive. I give them resources. So I just am all encompassing in the virtual space. So this actually is my always normal. So depending on your current situation right now, you are probably falling into one of two categories. You're either finding that you have more time than usual, depending, some people are like on a little hiatus right now, depending on their job. And then others are actually finding themselves just completely slammed. And what I have found, from most of our clients is they are now becoming teachers, right? They are having to juggle their schedule with having to homeschool their kids. And I know there's also a lot of people that are now having to deal with that and deal with working remotely, which they haven't done before. So you put the two of those together and it can really, add some chaos to people's schedule. So regardless of your situation, it's really a good time to start building those delegating skills and start thinking about things that you can offload. And a good way to do that is, start thinking about, what are you currently doing that you don't need to do, that you don't want to do, that you don't like to do, or that you don't have time to do? And I'm not just talking about work-related delegating, but delegating in general, holistic delegating. It's a term Lisa and I came up with because it really helps encompass all areas of your life.
Many people will say, I can't delegate, or I don't know what to delegate, or I don't know how to delegate. And if I were to delegate, I could just do it better or faster myself. So why would I even want to bother? And, that's really short-sighted because we have 168 hours in the week. That's it. Part of that, we are sleeping and showering. So that leaves a limited amount of time to get everything else done. So instead, look at it as you have 168 hours in a week and you can grab extra hours from all these other people so that you can get more accomplished, because you are limited by time on what you can do alone. You are completely unlimited when you can bring other people into your circle to help you do either home stuff or business stuff. In future segments, we're going to talk about the difference between delegating and training, and we'll talk about how some of the pitfalls, like being too vague or micromanaging. But for today, we are really going to focus on what. What are the things you should delegate? And I like to look at it backwards. I rather look at it as what are the things you should do, and everything else are things that you can delegate. Versus what are things that I can delegate. Just know that here are the things I do well, I excel at it, I love it. And then some of the other things, they can go somewhere else. So I want to bring it to you from two different perspectives, which may help you start to figure out, here's my list of things I can do. Here's my list of things that I want to give to someone else. One is, if you have read the book, Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dufu. She spoke at our NABO National Conference this past year and was an amazing speaker. And one of the things that she shared was her philosophy, and I am very much paraphrasing, so please go out and read the book yourself. However, she said it's not about the tasks and pieces that we do, it's about the impact that we make. And when she looks at the fact that she does a lot of traveling and her husband does a lot of traveling and they're raising two kids, they want them to be good humans. And that's not exactly the phrase she uses, but she wants them to be good humans. So when she looks at how does she want to make sure she interacts with her kids each day, she thinks about, okay, I want to have a conversation with them at night before they go to bed and ask them, how did you make an impact in the world today? How was your day? What were some of the things that you did? She said, that is a much more important activity for me than sitting down and watching TV with them. And I realize that those are kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, but you want to look at what's your mission, what's your goal, what's your purpose, and how do you make sure that you are instilling that and living that in all the areas of your life. So that's one way to look at what are the things that you should be doing. You can just take that idea of hers, I want to make an impact, and look at how do you best make an impact in different areas of your life. That'll help you figure out your to-do list. And everything else can go somewhere else. The other way to look at this is to pull from Mike Michalowicz's book, Clockwork. And in that book, he talks about the queen bee role, or I will often use the term zone of genius. What are the things that you do that only you do, that you do so well, that if we took that away, your business would fail or your family would fall apart? Like, what are those things for you? And I'll give you a couple examples. I was recently working with a group down in Charlotte, and one of them is a fractional CFO. And she said, look, the thing that I do so well is I can listen to my clients and have empathy and then come up with a creative solution for them. Another person is marketing. She's like, my piece in my business is to strategize. Like, that's my thing. If I can create the strategy and pull all the pieces together, other people can implement. There was also someone who she creates meals for people at home. And she talked about creative meal planning, especially now when you don't know what you'll get when you go to the grocery store. So these are just some of those ideas of, okay, here's the piece that I do and do so well. There was someone else who was in the medical field, and she's like, look, diagnosing is my thing. That's my thing. It's not necessarily any of the other pieces. It's diagnosing. So what is it that you do in your life that you bring in? And what is it that in your business that you bring in? That's your zone of genius. That's your QBR. That's your impact you create on the world. Everything else you can delegate. So Laura, give us some other examples of things that we could delegate.
Right. So what I thought we could do is walk through an exercise together. So if you guys if you have a pen and paper there, I am a pen to paper person, especially when it comes to stuff like this. But grab a pen and paper. I'm going to walk you through some areas and give you some things to think about when it comes to delegating. So if you struggle with delegating, which like Lisa said, some people are great at delegating. Personally, I rock at delegating because there's a lot of things that I just don't want to do. And I have honestly never really had a problem doing it. But some people don't, because like she said, they just don't, nobody can do it like me. And it'll take me longer to teach somebody how to do this than if I just do it myself. But you've got to always think big picture, right? Because if you're constantly in that, I'm doing it all myself, then, you are never going to get out of working in something instead of on something, whether it's work or your family or just your life in general. So on your first thing, I want you to write down are only things that you can do. And this, again, actually, this will apply to business or personal if you think about these things. So think about those things that you really love to do and that fuel your passion, because those are things that you don't want to necessarily give to somebody else, because you always want to be doing something you're passionate about because it really keeps you motivated, right? And involved in whatever it is that you're doing. What the big picture things like your vision, your planning, whether again, it's for your business or it's for your family, you probably are the only person that has that vision and can really, set up a structure for it. And think about where, as Lisa said, you make the most impact, because where you make the most impact is definitely going to be where you need to be focusing your efforts. And so those are the things that you need to write down on the tasks that only you can do. And then the second part of this is think about things that you might still love to do. Maybe it's not a passion, you enjoy doing it. Maybe it's things that you hate to do. And maybe it's things that you don't know how to do, and when I'm talking even about this again, business or personal, is, in your business, there's a lot of times that we get ourselves just in the mode of doing stuff, even though we don't really know how to do it. So we're only kind of doing it halfway. Same thing goes with projects, right? Like I know so many people, they're like, well, I don't want to pay somebody to do that because I can do that, but you don't really know how to do it or you're not good at it. So just do it and get it over with and get it done. So you want to think about things like that. And so if we're talking about business real quick, that might be things like marketing. I know a lot of times when people come to us, that's one of the things that they want to offload is, some of the tasks that go into marketing, like social media management, email campaigns, even if it's posting their social media, it's those little things that take up time and take you away from what you really should be doing and focusing on. And another big one is on the administrative side is email management. So think about how great it would be every morning to wake up and your email, your inbox is nice and clean. You have a folder where you can just find all of the things that you have to do. Maybe it's a review folder and everything else is taken care of. That is really valuable to a lot of people. And, if we're talking about, at home, for example, maybe it's cleaning your house, or maybe it's only cleaning a certain portion of your house. Maybe it's doing stuff in the yard. I mean, there's all of these different things that you can put under there, and you can separate these by business or personal, or put it all in one dump list and then go through it later. And then there's also that category of the things that we procrastinate on. So it doesn't really matter if you know how to do it or you like it or you don't like it, but we procrastinate, but these are still things that have to be done. So work-wise, you can think about simple things like keeping your digital files organized. So many people, we get busy all day long, and at the end of the year, we can't find anything because it's all over the place. Maybe it's creating or updating your SOPs or, processes that you have in place, following up with potential clients or, prospects or, whatever that is. The follow-up, a lot of times we procrastinate on that. And that's something that's a really important part of your business. And around the house, it could be projects. Maybe you've been wanting to paint a room and you just keep procrastinating and putting it off. So I think you need to really take this whole delegating piece and, bring it back to that holistic delegating so that you can make all pieces of your life work together.
Because you want to do more of what you're really good at and what you enjoy doing and less of what you don't. And often I'll have people say, well, I don't want to make someone do all the yucky stuff. And I'm like, okay, what's yucky to you could be like what they love. Everyone has different skill sets and different interests, and asking someone to help and empowering someone to help do additional things could actually make them very happy. So I think that's the other thing to look at is when you're making your list, make your list without judgment. And whether you're making a list, or many times I'll work with my clients and I'll have them use a Post-it note. And I say, just put one task that you do per Post-it note. Just keep on going. Home, business, volunteer work, whatever it may be, one task per Post-it note, and just put them all down and then start separating them out into piles. Things you love and you're really good at, and everything else goes in the other pile. So it's whatever process works best for you. So we encourage you this week to create your list, because here's the deal. Next week at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, we are going to talk about who. And between the two of us, we have heard every excuse. I don't have anyone. The people I have can't do this. Like, we have heard them all, and we are totally going to blow them out of the water. We're going to talk tomorrow. We're going to talk next week about who you can delegate to. But for now, you need a place to start. Make it without judgment. Don't worry about who can get those tasks right now. Just create your to lists. I was speaking with you earlier about some of the business owners I was talking to last week about their zone of genius. And what was interesting is, after they identified it, and I want you to do the same thing, after you identify your zone of genius, and you know what is it that you do with your family, with your business, whatever, estimate what % of time each week you spend in that zone of genius. And so for this group, they were between 10 and 65%. However, there's only one person at 65%. In general, they were down around under 20% as a group. Imagine if you could double the percent, or just increase the percent, how much more meaningful your interactions with family would be, how much stronger your business would be when you can stay in the place that you do best. So you want to increase your time in your zone of genius. That's what we want you to do. So we encourage you, make your to lists before next week.
Step-by-step process here. So we're trying to end each one of these with some success stories, so that maybe, it will be relatable. And I have to say, my clients obviously are a little bit different than Lisa's clients, because in our space, I can't really say that people are pivoting their business right now, because they are typically in this virtual space, right? They totally get it. They typically work from home anyways, or they're just very familiar with it. I wouldn't say that our clients are pivoting, but they're refocusing their efforts right now. Because obviously, so many industries have there's been a substantial impact on their business. And so what some of our clients are doing right now is, trying to get into some of these projects that have been on the back burner, because they know that, this is going to end. We are going to come out of this, and they want to be in a position that, basically right now you can think of it as catching up, right? If you're not busy and you're not stuck in the weeds right now, then catch up, so that you are that much further ahead of the game when we come back out of this. So some of the things that they're doing are updating their website. Some people are doing weekly updates on their website, but they don't really want to, have to mess with doing it themselves. So they're having other people do it for them. Some of them are organizing their files. That's one of the reasons I brought that up, because that's a big one. And, we're early enough in the year right now that you can get yourself set up on a nice system, and then all you have to do is follow it. And then one of the other ones was gathering resources that they can share with their clients, and putting that all together and making sure that, they're constantly staying in touch and constantly keeping people updated. So if you're not in a position that you have to pivot right now, then I would think of it as a place on where can I focus my efforts to make the biggest impact during this time.
I love that idea of what can you do now to build a stronger return on the other end.
Yeah.
So the success story I would like to share with you is one of my clients. She's in the financial space, and she has 2 part-time employees, and this is the busiest time for her. Not only from a tax perspective, but also everything that's going on in the markets. She's getting a ton of phone calls. So she was already struggling to just get through each day. And then she also is a single mom of 4 kids. And when they closed the school, right, exactly. Oh gosh. And what she did first is she looked at, okay, what what is the one action I can take that's going to make things easiest? And she hired a retired teacher to help her with her kids. That way, their schoolwork is still going forward and she can still continue to do the things she needs to do for her clients. Then she looked at, okay, now is the opportunity I have to kind of change some of my processes and the way that I do things. She recognized that her zone of genius was working one-on-one with clients and creating the strategy. She recognized the things she doesn't like to do and the things that she procrastinates on and things she puts off is all that implementation piece. Like, here's your plan of, 30 pages, and here's the person to call, and here's how to do this. She didn't like that, but she loved sitting with her clients and just talking. Well, here's the great thing now with virtual meetings is she's able to set up that space where they can have that conversation. And her assistant is there to take care of whatever implementation pieces need to happen. So she's spending more time doing what she loves. Her assistant is super detail oriented and is doing a lot of the things that my client hated. And it's actually taking her less time because she's only doing her portion and she's doing it really well. So she's using this time right now to change some communication expectations. It used to be an unwritten rule that if you got in contact with her, she'd get them back to you within like an hour or two, which is very difficult for her to do any type of big thinking because she's constantly in her email. Now she's able to expand that out and say, okay, due to what's happening and where we are right now, my communication expectation or your expectation for me on communication is within 2 business days. And people are okay with it. She's resisted doing it for years and people get it. They just want to know what it is. So I just wanted to share that success story with you so that if there are pieces in there that you can relate to, now is the time to change expectations. Now is the time to set firmer boundaries. People are in that mindset right now of change. Everything is changing. Now is your time to do some of those things that you were a little hesitant about doing before. Now's a great time to try them out. With that being said, we do want to end every one of these with success story for you. We also want to be able to answer your questions. So please get in touch with us. Post below. What would you like us to talk about? Next week, we're talking about who you can delegate to. The week after that, this will shock you. We're going to talk about how you can do it well. But we have to start with the what, then the who, then the how. But give us your success stories so that we can share them also. Next week, Wednesday, 11 o'clock Eastern, we hope to see you here.
Bye, everybody.